At dinner, she looked me in the eyes and said, "I'm pregnant." My fork slipped from my hand and clattered against the plate, the sound loud in the quiet room. My chest froze. My mind went blank, because in that moment, the only thought, screaming in my head, was this. I had been overseas for 3 months. 3 months, not a day less, not a single night home. And yet, here she was, telling me she was pregnant. I stared at her, waiting for her to laugh, to say it was a bad joke, but her face was pale, her hands twisted in her lap, and her eyes were filled with tears. This wasn't a joke. This was real. And that realization hit me like a train. My throat tightened as I whispered, "What did you just say?" She blinked hard, her voice barely steady as she repeated, "I'm pregnant." The words cut through me a second time, sharper, heavier, impossible to ignore. I leaned back in my chair, my hands trembling against the edge of the table. "That's impossible," I said, my voice shaking. "I haven't even been here." "You know I've been gone." She bit her lip, her eyes dropping to the tablecloth, and for a long moment she said nothing. And that silence, it was louder than anything she could have said. My mind started racing, grabbing at every moment from the past 3 months. The nights we video called and she looked distracted. The texts that came hours late with excuses about being tired. The muffled sounds in the background she brushed off as the TV. I had ignored it all, told myself I was paranoid, told myself she was just stressed. But sitting at that table now, staring at the woman I thought I knew, I felt my stomach twist into knots. "Please tell me I'm misunderstanding," I said, my voice breaking, my hands gripping the chair so tight my knuckles turned white. "Please tell me there's some explanation I can't see." She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand, her fingers trembling. "It's not that simple," she whispered, and those words lit something inside me. Anger, fear, heartbreak, all at once. Not that simple? What could possibly make this simple? My heart pounded so hard it felt like it was shaking the room. I thought back to the night before I left for that trip, the airport. The way she held on to me, her voice breaking when she said, "I'll wait for you." I kissed her forehead, promised her I'd be back before she knew it, and she nodded, with tears in her eyes. And now, months later, she was carrying a child that couldn't possibly be mine. My mouth was dry, my body stiff, but I forced the word out anyway. "Who?" The question burned through my throat. She froze, her shoulders tensing, and for a long moment she didn't answer. And that silence, God, that silence, was the only answer I needed. My fork sat forgotten on the plate, the pasta cold, the candle flickering shadows across her face. Her eyes glistened with guilt, her lips trembling as she finally whispered, "Please, not like this. Let me explain." I shook my head, my chest rising and falling too fast, my thoughts spinning so violently I could barely breathe. "Explain? How do you explain this? How do you explain breaking the one promise that mattered most?" I thought of the messages she sent, the photos she texted while I was gone, little reminders of home. I thought of the nights I lay awake in hotel rooms, staring at the ceiling, missing her so much it physically hurt, and telling myself it was worth it because she was waiting. And now? Now everything I thought was solid crumbled beneath me. I slammed my hand on the table, my voice breaking. "Tell me who." She flinched, tears spilling down her cheeks, and still, she said nothing. That silence carved me open. I looked at her, the woman I had trusted with everything, and all I could see was betrayal. My world spun, my stomach twisted, and for the first time in my life I felt like I had no ground to stand on. 3 words, "I'm pregnant," had ripped everything apart, and as much as it shattered me, I knew this was only the beginning of the storm. When I tell you I had been overseas for 3 months, I mean every single day of it. There wasn't a night I came home early, no secret weekends back, nothing like that. My passport is stamped, my phone records are clear, I was thousands of miles away the entire time. The company had sent me on this huge project, the kind of assignment you don't say no to if you want to move up. Long days, endless meetings, late nights staring at spreadsheets in some sterile hotel room. I told myself I was doing it for us, for our future. And she had looked at me with those eyes and said, "I'll wait for you. Don't worry about me." I believed her. Truth is, I clung to those words every single night, but as the weeks went by, little cracks started to show. At first, it was the calls. In the beginning, she'd call me every night, sometimes twice, just to hear my voice. We'd laugh. We'd talk about our days. She'd tell me about the dog, barking next door, or the dinner she cooked. But then slowly the calls became shorter. Some nights she'd say she was too tired. Other nights she wouldn't pick up, and the next morning I'd get a text that said, "Sorry, I fell asleep early." At first I brushed it off. Everyone gets tired. Time zones were rough, and maybe she just needed her rest. But then there were the moments that didn't sit right. I'd call, and when she finally answered, I'd hear something in the background. Music that didn't sound like her taste. Voices. Once I thought I heard a man's voice, low and muffled, and when I asked about it, she laughed and said, "Oh, just the TV." I wanted to believe her. I really did. So I did what anyone in denial does. I ignored it. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself distance makes everything feel bigger than it really is. But deep down, a knot started forming in my gut. And then there were the photos. She used to send me little snapshots of her day. Her coffee in the morning, the cat curled up on the couch, even just her face smiling with a silly caption. But after the first month, they stopped coming as often. I'd scroll through our chats at night, staring at the empty space where her updates used to be. I told myself she was just busy, but the silence felt heavier with each day. I started counting down the days until I could come home. I'd mark it on the calendar, cross out each date, imagining the hug I'd get when I walked through the door, the way she'd smile when she saw me again. That hope was the only thing that kept me going some nights. But when I finally came home, something was different. She hugged me, yes, but it felt hesitant, like she was holding back. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, and she pulled away faster than I expected. I tried to shake it off, telling myself maybe she was just overwhelmed. Maybe she needed time to adjust after so long apart. But as the days went on, the distance between us didn't shrink. It grew. She was distracted, always on her phone, always stepping out of the room when she got a message. At dinner, she'd push food around her plate, lost in thought. At night, she'd turn away from me in bed, saying she was too tired to talk. And every time I asked if something was wrong, she'd say, "No, everything's fine," with a smile that looked practiced. I wanted to grab her shoulders and shake the truth out of her, but instead, I bit my tongue, because I was scared of what I might hear if I pushed too hard. Then came that night, the dinner. She set the table carefully, almost nervously. She lit candles, something we hadn't done in months. I thought maybe she was finally opening up, finally letting me back in after the distance. I thought it was a fresh start, but instead, it was the opposite. She looked me in the eyes, her hands trembling, and dropped the bombshell. "I'm pregnant." And that's when everything I had ignored, every red flag I brushed aside, came rushing back to me all at once. The late calls, the background voices, the fading texts, the way she looked at me when I walked through the door, like she was hiding something. I had been so desperate to believe in us that I blinded myself to the truth. And now the truth was, sitting across from me, real and undeniable, pregnant. She was pregnant. And I had been gone for 3 months. The second those words left her mouth, my whole body turned into fire and ice at the same time. Pregnant. 3 months. Me gone the whole time. It didn't add up. It couldn't add up. My voice cracked as I asked again, "How is that even possible? You know where I've been? You know I haven't been here." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing quietly, and whispered, "Please, don't make me say it." My chair screeched as I pushed back from the table, my hand slamming down, so hard the plates rattled. "Say what?" That you cheated on me? That's the only way this makes sense." She flinched, her shoulders shaking, but still no words. That silence was killing me, like she was confirming everything by not denying it. My heart was racing, pounding against my ribs so loud it drowned out the sound of my own voice. I walked around the table, crouched in front of her, my face inches from hers. "Tell me who?" I demanded, my voice low, trembling with rage. Her tears spilled down, dripping onto her dress. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. "I was lonely, I was scared, and he was just there." My stomach dropped. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the chair to keep myself steady. "He?" I repeated, my throat tight. "Who the hell is he?" She shook her head desperately. "Please don't make me say it. You'll hate me even more." I let out a bitter laugh, one that didn't sound like me at all. "More? You think there's room for more? You've already destroyed me." I slammed my fist against the table and she jumped. My eyes burned as I stared at her. "I gave you everything. I trusted you while I was across the world, and this is what you do? You sleep with someone else and now you're pregnant?" My voice cracked on that last word, and for a moment all I could do was pace the room, my hands tearing through my hair. I thought of all the nights I had spent alone, convincing myself she was waiting for me, that she was mine. I thought of all the little red flags I ignored because I loved her too much to believe she could hurt me like this. And now it was all crashing down. She finally whispered, "It was only once. I swear. I didn't mean for it to happen." I froze mid-step, my body trembling. Only once. Like that was supposed to make it better. Like that erased the fact that while I was gone, while I was working myself to the bone for us, she gave herself to someone else. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "Once was enough," I said through gritted teeth. "Once was all it took to destroy everything." She reached for me, her hands shaking. "I still love you. I made a mistake, but I love you." I yanked my arm away, her touch burning like fire. "Don't you dare say that word to me right now. Love. You don't even know what that means. Love doesn't do this." She sobbed harder, her whole body shaking. "I was weak. I was stupid. I thought I lost you out there, and I cut her off, my voice sharp like a blade. "Lost me? I called you every damn night. I told you every day how much I missed you. I never gave up on us. You're the one who gave up." My chest heaved as I stared at her, my whole world crumbling. I wanted answers. I wanted names. I wanted to know everything. But at the same time, I didn't think I could take it. I didn't think I could survive hearing it. And yet the words left my mouth anyway. "Who is he?" She froze, her lips trembling, her eyes darting to mine then away. That hesitation was the knife twisting deeper. "Tell me who!" I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls. She finally whispered a name, so soft I almost didn't catch it. And when I did, it felt like the floor fell out from under me. It wasn't just some stranger. It was someone I knew, someone I trusted. My knees went weak, my vision blurred, and I had to grab the edge of the table to keep from collapsing. Betrayal didn't even begin to describe what I felt in that moment. My girlfriend. Pregnant. By someone who had been close enough to betray me in the worst way. My whole world tilted, and I realized nothing would ever be the same again. When she whispered his name, I swear my blood went cold. It wasn't a stranger, it wasn't some faceless shadow, it was someone I knew, someone I trusted. My hands shook as I gripped the table, my vision swimming. I wanted to scream, to break, something, to make her hurt the way I was hurting. But all I could do was stare at her and whisper, "Him? Of all people." "Him?" She sobbed, nodding slowly, her face twisted with guilt. "It wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't plan it. I swear it just—" I cut her off with a wave of my hand, my voice breaking. Don't you dare. Say it just happened. Things like this don't just happen. You made a choice." My chest felt like it was caving in, every breath sharp and heavy. Images flashed through my head, every laugh we shared, every night I stayed awake overseas just to hear her voice Every memory we built together, and now they all felt poisoned. "Do you know what you've done?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Do you even understand what this means?" She reached out, desperate, her voice pleading. "Please, I still love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. Don't let this ruin us." I yanked my arm away, her touch burning me. "Us? There is no us. Not anymore. You ruined it the second you let him in. You ruined it the second you chose him over me." Tears blurred my vision, but I refused to let them fall in front of her. I stood up, pacing the room, every step heavy like I was dragging chains. She kept crying, begging, telling me we could work it out, that the baby didn't have to mean the end. But to me it was already the end. Because trust is a one-time thing. Once it's broken, there's no putting it back together. I stopped pacing and looked at her one last time. Her face was pale, streaked with tears, her shoulders shaking, and for a moment a part of me still wanted to go to her, still wanted to believe it was all a nightmare I could wake up from, but another part, the part that had been ripped open, knew better. "I can't do this," I whispered, my voice hollow. "I can't be with someone who betrayed me like this. I can't raise a child that isn't mine and pretend everything is okay. I won't." Her sobs filled the room, echoing off the walls, but I didn't move. I grabbed my coat, my keys, and walked to the door. Every step felt like my legs might give out, but I kept going. When I opened the door, the cold air hit me, sharp and unforgiving. I stood there for a second, my hand gripping the frame, listening to her cry behind me. And then I stepped out. The door closed, and with it, so did everything we had built. Driving that night, my chest tight, my eyes burning, I realized I had lost more than just a girlfriend. I had lost the future I thought I was building. I had lost the person I trusted most. And yet, somewhere in that crushing pain, there was clarity. I had given her my loyalty, my love, my faith, and she had broken it. That wasn't on me. That was on her. The baby would grow, her life would go on, and mine would too. Maybe not together, but separately. And maybe that was the only way forward. The weeks after were brutal. I woke up in an empty bed, stared at my phone waiting for messages that no longer came, scrolled through photos that now felt like ghosts haunting me. Friends asked what happened, and I couldn't even get the words out. "She's pregnant," I'd say, and leave the rest unsaid. But slowly I began to breathe again. Slowly I remembered who I was before the betrayal. And slowly I realized that sometimes the most painful endings are the ones that save you. Looking back now, I see that dinner not just as the night my world shattered, but as the night I was forced to face the truth, a truth I had been ignoring for too long. She wasn't who I thought she was. We weren't who I thought we were. And as much as it hurt, walking away was the only choice I could live with. Because love without trust isn't love. It's just a slow kind of death. And I wasn't going to let myself die like that. So when I tell you she said, "I'm pregnant," across that dinner table, understand this. It wasn't just the end of a relationship. It was the moment I realized the most important lesson of my life. Sometimes the people you love most will be the ones to break you the hardest. And when that happens, the only thing left to do is pick yourself up, walk away, and never look back.